And welcome to the OHIO podcast. And Eric, today we're going to talk about something that's a little bit near and dear to my heart,
Mm-hmm.
and that's jerseys. And more specifically, we're going to talk about some of the more iconic jersey numbers in Ohio State history. So, what makes a jersey iconic? Is it the iconic player who wears it? Is it just how many people, maybe in general, have worn it? Is it the fact that you see that number at every game? There's so many different ways you could look at this. So I took all that into effect or into account, and then I did something a little different than not a lot of people could do. I also took into account jersey sales.
Mm-hmm.
How many people are buying this jersey still? So we're going to cover what I think are the top five most iconic jerseys in Ohio State football history.
Okay.
So I'm going to give you my list, and you kind of tell me what you think.
Beautiful.
Starting off, number one, top of the hill, it's got to be the number 45. And that is, of course, Archie Griffin's number. Those of you who grew up around the same time that we were growing up are going to remember the big cat wearing that one as well, Andy Katzenmoyer. This one is iconic specifically because of Archie Griffin. So, Archie is probably the most beloved player in Ohio State history.
No doubt.
And I think that is what makes his jersey number iconic.
If I'm correct, because I agree with you, it's number one on my list too. They brought the 45 out of retirement for
For
Katzenmoyer.
Katzenmoyer, yes,
So
with Archie's
all
blessing.
yes, and so there's only been a handful to ever even wear the number, which
Mhm.
makes it even more unique in that aspect.
And there's another jersey that's towards the end that we may talk about that's very similar to that.
Okay.
My number two, Eric, it is the number two. I mean,
Ooh,
if you
okay.
look at that one, Chris Carter, Mike
Yeah.
Doss, Malcolm Jenkins, Marshawn Lattimore. You had Terrell Pryor, Ryan Shazier wore it for a while.
At the
Uh,
beginning, yeah.
yeah, Boom Herron, Chris Olave, of course, CO2 wore it there in his final year.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got Chase Young donned it for a while, J.K. Dobbins, and now you've got Emeka Egbuka wearing it. I mean, this jersey is one that you will see on someone at every Ohio State game without fail. If you don't see it at least a handful of times, there's something wrong.
Yeah, and I didn't have it number two for me. It was actually number three.
Mhm.
But what makes the number two jersey unique is just how many great players have worn it. And so when you go to a game and you see a number two jersey, it's hard telling what the name on the back's going to be. It could be Egbuka, who's the player who's donning it now. It could be Chase Young's number,
Well,
who
and
wore it
it's
then.
funny, we spent the weekend Saturday, of course, talking with our friend Mike Wargo, and he was telling us about how they doubled up numbers. Realized at one point Chase Young and J.K. Dobbins were both number two at the same time.
Yeah, yeah, and not to mention number one was Justin Fields. So the
Yeah.
sing the low single digit number was very very popular then. Yeah, I get you. I get why number two would feel that way. I just don't know that it's the second most iconic number in Ohio State.
Okay, fair enough. Uh, for me, number three, and again, a lot of this had to do with sales.
Okay.
Number seven.
All right. All right.
I mean, you think about the QBs that wore the number. You had, of course,
Yes.
Cornelius Green,
Mm-hmm.
probably the most famous of the sevens until recently, at least. Joe Germain, somebody that, you and I are very familiar. Remember watching him growing up.
Yeah.
Of course, the late Dwayne Haskins,
Right.
and then C.J. Stroud, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Who had two Heisman quality years wearing that jersey here recently. But you can go beyond the quarterbacks, Eric.
Right.
You look at that number. Joey
Joey
Galloway
Galloway.
donned that
Yep.
number. Teddy Ginn Jr.
Yes.
Uh, what about a cornerback, Vinnie Clark?
Mm.
Going if you want to go back to the '80s. And what about the cornerback wide receiver, Chris Gamble?
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah,
Forgot
Chris
about that.
Gamble had that number 7. So while for most people it's going to be all about the quarterbacks, there are so many great people that wore that jersey. And granted, the number 7, thanks to CJ and of course the tragic passing of Dwayne Haskins, really saw a big boost in sales and popularity over the last few
Yeah.
years.
Now, did you
Um,
mention Marshawn Lattimore as well? Because didn't he wear
um,
number 2?
we're on 7 now. I did mention
Oh,
him on number 2.
okay. Yeah, yes, yeah, yes. 7. So, speaking of 7, I think I had, let me look real fast. Yes, I've got number 7 as my number 5 most
Fair enough.
popular iconic jersey. So, your top 3 is my 1, 3, and 5.
Okay. Well, you know what? Number 4 is one that I've debated with 4 and 5 a lot because I get requests for both. You still see a lot of these numbers in the shoe whenever you go to games. I'm going to go with the more recent, and that's the number 97.
Okay, so before you talk about the Bosas, because that's why, um, I
Not
don't
just the
have
Bosa's.
I don't have it in my top 5.
Cam Hayward was number 97 as
Yeah,
well.
but it's not iconic
It's
though. Not
I,
yet.
I you know what? I truly feel
How
that
I
the
mean, how much do you? I realize when the Bosas were here, you probably sold a ton of Bosa jerseys.
still do.
Okay,
I ordered 4 today, Eric.
I don't have those statistics. I can only go off of what I personally feel. I just don't feel 97 is iconic yet. See, to
Okay.
me, iconic is like for decades. Now it might get there.
Now I know we're going to talk about one that I've got as my number 6 that I know is in your list.
You
Um,
got 36 all the way down in 6, don't
I
you?
do.
See, that's number 2 for me. You had a span of about 10 seasons where your top 3 linebackers all wore number 36.
Mhm.
There are cars that drive around Columbus with the number 36 on the side of their car in honor of Chris Spielman and that jersey
It
number, dude.
probably is Chris Spielman.
No, it's not Chris Spielman.
Uh,
Oh shoot.
but no, I understand your argument. Um, but I would almost argue that while it's maybe an iconic number that I would remember, most of your younger fans are not going to remember the number 36 is iconic.
Um,
I
they
mean,
will when they
if
will.
they are students of the game, if they are hardcore
Yes.
fans, if they know Ohio State history, yes, they will consider that an iconic jersey.
You and I still both see 36 at the games. People still wear that jersey.
Not as much as I see a
Now they might be in
97.
their 40s and 50s, but they're still wearing 36. Like it's still a thing. Hey man, Brian Roll, the guy we interviewed last night, he was 36
He was.
and he
He
led the
played
team in
it.
tackles in 20,
He,
2010.
yeah, and you know what? That it is. And he
It's
was a
a
team
line.
captain.
Well,
But
first off, you don't get to wear that jersey unless you're a linebacker. Let's be frank about
well,
that.
that's kind
Like
of like it felt very strange to me to watch uh, Master Teague and then more recently Devin Brown in the number 33. That
yeah.
number is a linebacker number.
Yeah.
It belongs to the coach. You
Yeah,
know.
the 30s need to stay in the linebacker room, in my opinion, and that's just my
So,
opinion.
but you know what? I'm going to jump over to a linebacker number 4, for you here, Eric.
Okay,
That's the number 47. I feel that there's, and now this one's going to have some history attached to it
okay,
for why it's iconic.
educate me, because obviously, I love AJ Hawk. He's my favorite Buckeye next to Ryan
Yes,
Miller.
AJ Hawk is the reason that most of our younger fans are going to relate to the 47. And my younger fans, I'm going to say 40 and under. However, that was also Chick Harley's number. And I would argue that Chick Harley is one of the most iconic figures in Ohio State football history.
Yeah, along with Hopalong Cassidy, sure.
And I thought about the number 40 being on there,
Which was Hop's number.
which was Hop's number. But, you know, you look at 45, 47, both retired jerseys. Um, Obviously, the number 27 could have easily made that because of
Eddie
Eddie.
George. But outside of Eddie,
But
who's worn
outside of Eddie,
27?
exactly.
Yeah.
Um, you know,
Isn't 27 retired as well?
it is. It's one of 8 jerseys that's retired.
Yeah.
However, like you said, outside of Eddie,
So
there's
I'm
just
interested. I gotta ask, man, why not number 10? Troy
Troy
Smith,
Smith,
Ryan
Shazier.
Shazier, Rex Kern, Art Schleister. Like the number
Let's
10,
leave Schleister off the list, okay? He kind of disgraced himself,
but
but he was a great player.
you don't think that there were number 10 kids wearing number 10 jerseys wanting to be Art Schleister when he was in his, in his
Well, sure there
prime at Ohio
was.
State?
Sure there was.
Like you got to take that into account. And then it's a Heisman Trophy winning number.
But
It's still a number today. Now you've seen some receivers wear it, but I feel like quarterbacks almost avoid it because it's like Troy Smith was the man, the Heisman Trophy winning quarterback at number 10. I feel like number 10 is kind of an iconic number.
I
Is
battled with number 10. I did. But I couldn't, based on the fact that I bet I have not sold a number 10 jersey in 3 years.
wow, man.
I don't
Okay,
know. As
okay.
I walk through the stadium, I may rarely see one, but I don't see it like I do a
How
7
many how many
or a
number
97.
1 jerseys have you sold?
Ones are pretty popular.
Justin Fields.
Justin Fields, Braxton Miller.
Of course, Braxton
Because
was number 5 for a long time before
he
he
did,
went
but when he
bold.
switched to receiver, he went to the 1.
Yeah, and everybody wanted that jersey because he was the most popular guy in the team. Um,
Uh,
Number 1, did you know there's nobody on the roster wearing number 1 this season? That's
that's not
interesting.
that is, you know. But we got a quarterback wearing 33.
Let's not talk about that. It's a
That's
linebacker
that's
number,
yeah,
man.
it's
Want to be
awful.
linebacker. He wants to be a linebacker. That's what that is. Okay, let me throw another number at you.
Mhm.
I think is extremely interesting. Actually, I have two of them. But what about number 99? You got Bill Willis,
Yep, of course.
Alonzo Spellman, Luke Fickle.
And,
Like
and and again, that's one that is another retired number.
Bill
Um,
Willis, yep.
Bill Willis had it retired. You know,
Which leads me to my next number, and I think this will be in the future. The reasoning behind this number is going to become iconic. The block O0 number.
I love the Block O,
I love it. It's not iconic
but
yet.
it's not, and it's only been around for a few years. Um, and you think about it, I mean, you and I, being bigger guys, we can have respect for those first couple guys that got that thing.
Mm-hmm.
In Jonathan Cooper and Thayer
Munford.
Munford.
Cameron Babb was the third.
Yeah,
By the
um,
way, it looked good on him, did it
it
not?
did. It really
Oh
did.
gosh, I think that's how I think there's certain numbers that go to certain players on certain teams
Well,
and
when you
certain
put them on, when you
positions.
put them on a lineman, the O tends to round out. It's not a block anymore.
But it was cool. But Thayer
It
didn't
was.
wear it, and unless he was on the sideline and it wasn't playing. But Cooper wore it. But when Cameron Babb had that thing on, it looked clean, as the kids say.
It does, and it's gonna be iconic from the standpoint that it goes to somebody who the fan base is going to have an emotional attachment to. They may not be necessarily the best player on the field, but
Right.
it's going to be the player that maybe has the most heart or most exemplifies what they think a Buckeye is. A good example would have been, I think the proper way to have initiated it would have been to put it on Haskell Garrett. That would have been the way to properly initiate it
Yeah.
had you done it a year before.
Yeah. Oh, I can get down with that. I can get down with that. Who do you think gets it this year? I've got a prediction.
Well, I'll tell you, I
It's
it's
been on
gonna
the
sound a little crazy.
okay.
I could see Eichenberg getting it.
No. No. But you're in the right room.
Think
It's gonna be
Steele?
Steel Chambers that gets it. Yeah. That's my prediction.
I'd bounced around between the two of them.
And
I
I'm here for it. Now he's pretty married to the number 22, so I don't know if he'll wear it. He might be honored with it, but then not wear it. Maybe he'll wear it for a game. But I would love to see that Blocko running around just tearing it up on defense.
oh yeah,
If it can't go to an offensive player, then give it on the defense for someone who's going to tear it up. And I think Steel Chambers would be perfect. Now, if I'm not mistaken, Chris, I believe it goes to an African American player because of the Bill Willis connection. I do believe that is one of the things that is specific to it.
okay.
So Tommy Eichenberg
Tommy's out then.
he's a little bit too pale for that, my friend. But Steel Chambers,
Yeah. You know, another guy who I'd really like to see get it,
okay,
who I think deserves it, would be Mayan Williams.
not a senior though.
I
I
know,
think
but it's gonna be his last year there.
it is. He'd have to come back next year. I could see if Julian Fleming comes back next year, him getting it.
Yeah, I think that we may see, and this is again a topic for another show, Eric, but I don't know that you're not going to see Fleming have such a good year that he goes out this year.
I kind of hope so. That means we're going to do really well. That means
Yeah,
we are unguardable, is what that means.
yeah. But yeah, so hey, everybody, give us your opinions. Who are your 5 most iconic jersey numbers? Why, give us a little blurb why. If it's somebody who we don't have on the list, let us know why you chose that number. Other than that, please go on, like, subscribe, ring the little bell so you know when we got new content coming out. And until next time, OH,
Ayo.
go Bucks.